5.
Curry hits a three.
4.
Just for the drive. Deep left field.
3.
Patrick hit by Watt. Sack number 10.
2.
Messi with a record-breaking goal.
1.
Welcome to BSS Sports. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Trevor.
Good afternoon, good evening, good whatever the heck you want to call it. It's another Monday. My name is Steven Schill, here with Trevor Struthers, ready to bring you all the latest and the greatest from the sporting world, as we usually try to do. So I want to start off with today's show just talking about the top leagues in the world, mainly persisting to money numbers and things like that. So thinking soccer, thinking basketball, thinking baseball. Trevor, if I were to say you have to pick the top two most profitable organizations in the world.
The NFL, just with the money that the league generates, and like teams in general, like a team like the Cowboys obviously comes to mind as a team that would be right up there. But then for the second one, I guess I'd say the EPL, because I mean, I'm not that, I don't follow the EPL that much, but I mean, obviously it has an insane following that I feel like is similar to the NFL over in Europe.
You know what? You're actually pretty close. You got to bang on with the NFL. They're number one, and then it's followed by Major League Baseball, actually.
Really?
And there's actually kind of a bit of a discrepancy between the Major League Baseball and the English Premier League. We're talking in the billions of dollars difference, then NBA and then NHL in the final. Now,
well, I'm not too surprised as well that baseball is up there if you think about the money that they throw around in
with
baseball.
the players, especially, yeah, for sure.
But I mean, they even do that. Like, I mean, obviously the NFL they throw money around, but I mean they're up there. But I mean, they do that even in the NBA. If you saw the past season that we just had. But yeah, with baseball, with certain guys, you look at the David Price contract; it's insane.
But it's I don't know what it is, but I mean, everybody talks about how like sports is money driven and everything, and it really is, because all five of those leagues are all profiting into the billions of dollars. Now, if you think about it, the owners, the managers, especially the players, the players, like it's obvious that they make money, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be able to pay off these guys as much as they do. Now, for the EPL, they make $5.3 billion a year, and for Major League Baseball, $9.5 billion. Now, for the NFL, Trevor, how much do you think they make? Because it's close to $9.5 billion, but it's still up there.
18 billion?
13. If they made 18,
okay.
Man. See, this is the weird thing. There's so many charities, and we're always talking about how, like, you can change the world with $1 million. But if the NFL is raking in $13 billion, obviously we have a lot of problems. Not going to get into anything here, but $13 billion. Come on, NFL. Like, you could help out a lot of people with that. Now,
including myself, just saying.
Yeah, exactly. There you go,
College
Trevor.
student. What are you going to do?
Try to get the NFL to help you out. Write a letter and see what you can get. Now, moving on to UFC news. CM Punk, the former WWE star, decided to take on Mickey Gall, decided to give his shot at MMA. And we were kind of thinking, hey, you know what, this could be Brock Lesnar kind of thing, and he would do well. He didn't do well. He did quite poorly, actually. Didn't even make it really into the first round. Rear naked choke to Mickey Gall. And Trevor, are you shocked that the CM Punk got punked?
Not really. I mean, it's ridiculous if people thought that CM Punk was going to win that fight, just because, say what you will, CM Punk's almost 40. Mickey Gall is like in his young 20s. Mickey Gall has been training at, MMA in certain facets of MMA for like 8 years. CM Punk's been doing it for about 2 years. Although apparently he had some like Brazilian jiu-jitsu training apparently like way back. But he's only a white belt. And Gall apparently is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. And we saw the difference in their abilities in jiu-jitsu in that fight. To compare what Brock Lesnar could have done to that of CM Punk is a little far-fetched. Brock Lesnar is obviously, he was a very successful collegiate wrestler, and the guy's just an overall beast if you looked at him. Even before all this USADA stuff with the failing of the drug test, the dude has always looked like a beast. CM Punk obviously doesn't have that same build, and he had to cut weight for this fight to get down to 170 for welterweight. And he looked pretty jacked. He really what he did was he was able to cut a lot of the fat that he had when he was in his pro wrestling days, and a lot of it, you saw the muscle show off. But that's a different kind of animal when you have to cut weight like that and then go out and perform. And it's something because it's like no other fighter has made a debut like that. Like this is not only a UFC debut. This is an MMA debut, and this isn't just it's not like any random UFC card. This is the third last fight on a pay-per-view. I'm sure he had a nice payday. I'm sure the pay-per-view numbers were were inflated due to this fight being on the card. But CM Punk in the UFC is probably maybe something that we shouldn't see again.
Now, one thing that I thought could have happened was the UFC trying to give a spotlight on Mickey Gall, because you're right, CM Punk is a big name. It's somebody. Like, I mean, you find out, hey, I don't know, like Nick Jonas or, I don't know, Kanye West is going to go into the, octagon. It's a selling point. And the UFC, they're not really lacking in superstars, but they, the more they have and the more they can market, obviously then they're going to try to take advantage of that. Do you think this was our opportunity to kind of spotlight Mickey Gall?
I think in a way they looked at it like that, but I mean, this was something that even before Mickey was in the UFC, I can't remember where he was fighting, before he got this opportunity, but he was just fighting in some, place in Jersey, I think, and Dana White and his crew was there scouting, and I guess Mickey Gall heard about that, and after he won that fight, he challenged, not necessarily CM Punk, but he challenged Dana White to give him that fight in the UFC. And that he wanted to be that guy that fought CM Punk. And I think this happened in like 2014. I mean, it's been some time, obviously, due to the injuries that Punk had with like the shoulder surgery. And I think there might have been another surgery in there. So obviously that was over a long span of time. But over that time, so Gall had his shot in the UFC, to win his UFC debut. And if he did, he would get that fight against Punk. He was able to go out there and win his fight also by submission, also in the first round. And Mickey Gall has kind of looked impressive. And, I mean, after his fight, he challenged Sage Northcutt. He wants to be on the card at 205 in New York City. And he has the potential to be something. But the thing is, he beat a nobody to get a shot against CM Punk. And CM Punk, although he's a name in the entertainment world, he's not a name in the MMA world. So he still technically beat a nobody there, even though it was a high-profiled fight. So he's still kind of, just trying to, he's beating nobody. So he's got to go out there, and if he gets Sage Northcutt in November, that's obviously a big fight for him, because although Sage is also kind of a young up-and-coming guy, he'd be the most legit guy that he's fought.
The NBA World Hall of Fame Talk 2016. We have a couple of names that are pretty big ones, and I don't know if we're going to see as big names for a while. We're looking at Yao Ming, Shaquille O'Neal, and Allen Iverson. Oh, wow, if I would have messed up his name, things would have gone bad. As well, joining them, we have Cumberland Posey, Cheryl Swoops, and Zelma Beatty. And one of them is actually Women's National Basketball Association MVP and four-time champion, that being the Cheryl Swoops. Otherwise, everybody is in the men's division. Although, the weird thing about this is Cumberland Posey played in the 1900s. So, why he's getting inducted in 2016? I don't really know, but they decided to do that.
I'm not too aware of his numbers, but I guess you could say that's a little overdue.
Well, here at least on the Wikipedia page, and take Wikipedia as much as you want, but Cumberland Posey was known as the best basketball player of the 1900s to 1920s. Formed, operated, and played for the Low-and-D Big Five, which became the most dominant basketball team of the Black Fives era through the mid-1920s. And just reading that sentence, I have no idea what any of this stuff is. So, I mean, I feel like basketball as a whole is, changed a fair bit since then. And excuse me if you happen to know who Cumberland Posey is.
We're only in our 20s, right, Steve? We can only know so much in terms of our time,
Exactly. But with our time being said, Shaquille O'Neal, he's kind of a guy that, if we were basketball fans when me and you were young, then we'd be a fan of him. But, I mean, I see him now more older because I got into basketball a bit later, and I don't like him as a broadcaster. I don't know what it is. He doesn't entice me. I just prefer somebody else. With that
Really?
being said, back in the day, yeah, that's personally, I'm just not a huge fan of his shenanigans.
I figured you'd like the comedy though. Like the dude's hilarious and he's big and clumsy. It's like me if we were like on television doing a show and if I had like a tremendous basketball career, which I mean I wish I did, I feel like I'd be a lot like Shaq in the way I acted. I don't know.
He tripped over a laptop cord once last season. I thought that was pretty
That was hilarious.
Okay,
yeah.
that was the one time when he got hurt, but you don't want to wish ill on anybody else. With that being said, back when Shaquille O'Neal was getting drafted in his year, it was known as the Shaq draft. So essentially everybody wanted to get, Shaquille O'Neal. And Orlando ended up winning the lottery for that, and Shaquille's agent was wanting Mr. O'Neal to play with the Lakers, which, everybody to this day still seems to think the Lakers are the be-all and the end-all, even with Kobe and everybody else gone. With that being said, Orlando won, and so they were like, hey, we want to take O'Neal. No, we don't want to trade him. We're taking him. So 2 days before the draft, they finally get Shaquille O'Neal out to Orlando with his dad and his brother Jamal. Now, everything was going swimmingly. Shaquille O'Neal was at the different facilities, hanging out with, the managers, teams, da-da-da-da-da. And then Jamal went to, like, an owner's house or something, who had, like, a basketball court, indoor pool, all the fun stuff for kids to do. And then it came lunchtime, and everything was going fine until lunchtime. But at lunchtime, they received a call saying Jamal was not happy with his lunch. Why? Because they didn't have any pickles. Now, like, I feel like I know more people that hate pickles than love pickles. But even with that being said, Trevor, how would you react if your boss was said, make this brother as happy as he can be, because if we lose Shaquille O'Neal because of you, you don't want to know what's going to happen. And then you find out the kid says to you, I want pickles. Where are the pickles? What do you do?
You have to go get that guy some pickles.
And that's exactly what they did. They went to that store and they bought that kid some pickles.
Better of, jeez.
Of all things to complain about, not having pickles. Like, okay, whatever.
I can see why that'd be a big deal, though. I mean, as somebody that loves food almost as much as I love sports, I gotta have my pickles.
Yeah, fair enough, Trevor. Fair enough. I'm not gonna argue with that. So the NFL, it's its first week. A lot of stuff's going on. It's hard to recap everything, especially because we're only on 15 minutes and we're getting to close to the final minute here. But with that being said, decent first week. RG3, not a decent week. Gets injured in the the fourth quarter, first game, fourth quarter. Sprained shoulder, says he's going to be fine. He's going to come back. Buccaneers, Jameson Winston does fine. Cleveland, just not even happening there. Philadelphia's going well. Carson Wentz looked all right. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of, shock that went on. Next week, we're definitely going to talk about things that transpired, etc. But the Patriots are playing Sunday night, and we are recording this Sunday night because, unfortunately, we aren't able to do it live this week because we have, classes and whatnot, because we're back into the swing of things for school. So we'll find out how the Jimmy Garoppolo thing goes with the Patriots, and we'll get back to you on that one. Make sure to check out our social media accounts for that, BSS Sports. But finally, the Toronto Blue Jays, baby. The Toronto Blue Jays. Trevor, I'm going to give you a minute, and you can just go and say what you want. But first off, they faced the Red Sox this past weekend, and the Boston Pizza in Toronto changed its name to Toronto Pizza. I applaud Toronto Pizza, but now every other country in Canada, or wherever a Boston Pizza is now going to want this to happen. Trevor, you got a minute? Give me your Blue Jays recap.
I wouldn't be opposed to a Belleville pizza, just saying. I mean, it's still got that B sound too. But yeah, for the Blue Jays, I mean, obviously this was a big series. A lot of people were talking about it. You're going up against the Red Sox. By the way, this may have been the Red Sox last time in Toronto for the regular season, but they still have a series coming up at Fenway, so that'll be fun. But so there are a couple games behind the Red Sox coming out of the series, and what was a crazy game. On the Sunday, I mean, that was, like somebody tried to steal home. Gibby got ejected in the ninth inning. Like everything happened, it seemed like there was a grand slam hit by Tulowitzki, and it was a back and forth. And that's what happens between two great teams. And that's what we have with the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. Both of these teams, I'd be surprised if they didn't at least make the wild card. Obviously, one should win the division at this point. So you just got to let it play out. Thank God David Ortiz may not play another game at Rogers Center again, because that guy can mash. Had a big home run that led to that Red Sox win. So, like, the Blue Jays played them tight, apart from that first game that got away from them. So, I mean, we have, a battle between these two teams. And the Blue Jays will be going out west, so they'll have some opportunity there. I believe the Red Sox play every single game left this year against the division. So the Blue Jays have a chance to make up some ground if they can beat the team out west, because somebody in the division is always going to be losing something, depending on who the Red Sox are playing. So there's opportunity there. It's a tough division. So if the Blue Jays can pick on the teams out west, they may have a division championship come the end of the year.
That's it for this episode of BSS Sports. Make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We'll try to keep you up to date throughout the days. And make sure to check out our previous episodes. Episode on YouTube, BSS Productions, not Sports Production. Find it, look at the channel. You'll get all the episodes prior to. For Steven Schill and Trevor Struthers, which is that guy, we'll see you next Monday, right, T?
Yeah.